Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of Gaming Espresso. This will be a weekly short 10-minute video that will talk about something in the PC gaming world that I feel should be talked about or discussed and isn't necessarily being hit on, or maybe it's time to revisit it. So, for the first episode of Gaming Espresso, we're going to re-hit on a topic that gets talked about a lot, but I don't think people really understand what's going on with it, and that is the concept of pre-order and early access gaming. And the specific position I'm going to take is why this is bad for PC gamers. Now, let's begin. Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to the early days of computer gaming. Now, in those days, when a game developer was going to produce a game, they produced the game. Then they had to have it printed to CD or DVD. They had to have the CDs or DVDs silkscreen. They had to have boxes made and box art made. They had to have a printed manual put together. And then this was shipped to various stores around the country. And because of that cost and physical requirements that were involved, these shipments were always in smaller groups. In those days, pre-orders were a vital way to determine you were going to get your game, because many times the stores would only get 4, 5, 6 copies of the game. And if you wanted to have the game in early access, to get it first, you had to pre-order the game. Now, unlike today's experience with pre-orders, this was much less painful. Instead of paying 100% full price for the game, you gave the store a $5 bill. They held it for you until the game was released, and they would hold your copy of the game for as much as 2 weeks, allowing you to wait for reviews, wait to see if the game was going to actually be worth having. If you decided not to get the game, you could go in and get your $5 back. You didn't pay for the whole game up front. You weren't required to. And this is very different from today, where 6 months out, many developers are asking us to give them the entire purchase price of the game to be able to be part of the beta or early access. Well, again, going back in time a little bit, beta and early access was a very different beast. I've been a beta tester for decades. And what that meant back then was you filled out an application. You didn't pay money to become a beta tester. You were expected to work, to be able to give something to the company to help them produce a better game. Today, beta testers are basically money sources. And it's worse than that when you realize what the real job of a beta tester is. Beta testers are there to allow the company to have extra testing capabilities without the additional added cost of the extra testing capabilities. Now, beta testers back in the early days were actually paid for their services, not cash. We were paid with a copy of the game, a thank you from the company for doing this work for them to help make the game better. And this is where the first terms of early access came in. Many times we would receive our physical copy of the game in the mail as much as a week before the game was released. This was a thank you because we worked, we submitted reports, we did what had to be done. You developed a reputation in the industry as a beta tester, so not just everyone could do it. Now let's come to today. Today, pre-orders require full price up front, but there's no physical copy and limitation of spacing in most instances of pre-orders. Now, I'm not talking special editions with box stuff. That's another topic. What I'm talking about is just buying the game. You don't have to worry about if they're going to run out, because newsflash, they don't have to produce physical copies of the game. They produce serial numbers, and those are, it's zeros and ones. They can copy them through infinity. You're never going to have to worry about them not having enough of the game for you to be able to play and enjoy. So that aspect of pre-order disappears. Early access and beta testing. Beta testers today don't do squat. They pay money to play a broken game, and they pay full price, but you pay more than that. You're giving the company additional material to help with Q&A, which they don't seem to use very effectively. You're basically saving them money, which means they're getting more from you, more value from you than just the money you spent. So you're being asked to pay full price to help them produce something that, by the way, here lately just isn't a finished product. But they want you to give full price for it. There's no reason for this. It doesn't exist anymore. This should not have to happen. Now, I'm not talking about crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, again, different topic. I'm talking about pre-order and early access. These are scams that are now being used by the publishers to get money to assist in development. They're just bringing in extra money. Do you get an advantage by pre-ordering? Well, sometimes you get little electronic add-ons for the game. Electronic add-ons for the game that often, by the way, prove to not be useful 2 levels or 20 minutes after you begin playing the game. You generally don't get a benefit unless you buy collector's editions, which many of those are even scams. We're going to, again, stay on topic with just what we're going to do. How do we deal with this? How do we stop this? How do we bring this under control? It's easier than you think. All we have to do is use our wallets. Don't pre-order a game. Don't pay for the game until it is physically released, until copies of the game are in reviewers' hands, in the consumer's hands that just couldn't wait, and let the reviews play out. See how the game actually is. If it's unfinished, wait for 1 or 2 patches before you make the purchase. That's all we have to do to try to get this under control, to get game companies to deliver better quality. All it takes is a real concerted effort to do this. The problem we face is we can't get a community to stand up and do anything meaningful beyond bitching. All they want to do is complain. Think about this for just a moment. Take any game on the market and imagine if 75% of the pre-orders never happened. Imagine if those people waited until the game was published and 1 or 2 patches were out before they gave the companies a dime. The message would be loud and clear, and the companies would be forced to respond. And the response would be better quality games at release. That's the way we fix this problem. Pre-order right now is not what it used to be. It's living off a myth of existence. It's living off the gamer mentality that we have to be there first. Being there first isn't important. Being there best is what matters. And often just waiting is the best way for us to not only get our value, but to send a clear message to developers. Broken games, making me pay full price up front 6 months out, is no longer acceptable. It's time we as the gaming community took control of PC gaming. And this is the first step in it. I'm Uncle Gamer, and thank you for joining me for the first Gaming Espresso. I'll see you again soon.